Hey, welcome back. My name is Austin. You're watching the 144 Kids Shabbat recap on the Kids Action Bible Show. Let's get into it. All right, so today we're talking about all about Sukkot. If you ever want to know what is the Feast of Tabernacles, what is the Feast of Booths, what is Sukkot all about, today we are going to dive into it. And if you attended our 144 Kids Shabbat, this is just a recap for you. But if you're new, let's watch it all together. So let's take a look. What is Sukkot? So first, we're going to dive back into Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus chapter 23 has everything we need to understand at a basic level all of Yah's feast days, all of his Moedims. And so we're in Leviticus 23 learning about the Feast of Booths, the Feast of Tabernacles, also known as Sukkot. So let's read it together. It says right here, and Yah spoke to Moses saying, speak to the people of Israel, saying on the 15th day of the 7th month, for 7 days is the Feast of Booths to Elohim. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. For 7 days you shall present food offerings to Elohim. On the 8th day you shall hold a holy convocation. We'll talk about that. And present a food offering to Elohim. It is a solemn assembly. You shall not do any ordinary work. So far we see here when Sukkot is supposed to take place for Israel on the 15th day of the 7th month, and it's supposed to last for 7 days, and they gather on the 8th day. They're not supposed to do any work on those high holy days, those high Sabbath days, the 1st and the 8th day, and they're supposed to present food offerings in between. So let's keep reading. These are the appointed feasts of Yah, which you shall proclaim as times of a holy convocation for presenting to Elohim food offerings, burnt offerings and grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings, all these different offerings. And besides your gifts, and besides all your vow offerings, and besides your free will offerings, which you give to Elohim. So there's an expectation that Israel was going to make offerings during this feast. And this is the last feast of the year at the end of the fall cycle until we go through winter and start again in the spring. Let's keep reading. On the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the produce of the land, so on the 15th day of the 7th month, after you gathered all the harvest, you shall celebrate the feast of Yah for 7 days. And on the first day shall be a solemn rest, which is a Sabbath, a rest day. And on the 8th day shall be a solemn rest. So this is why I said high Sabbath. Both of these days are supposed to rest and take apart. And you shall take on the first day the first fruits of the splendid trees, branches of palm trees, boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before Yah your Elohim. And so he's saying even here on the first day and the 8th day, those are days where you just rest. And then he also says looking for fruit, for palm trees, branches of palm trees, boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook. Willow trees are normally by brooks. This is so good. I think we have some more verses. Let's keep reading. Now you shall celebrate it as a feast to Yah for 7 days in the year. It is a statute forever throughout your generations. And you shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All native Israelites shall dwell in booths, that your generation may know that I made the people of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yah your Elohim. I'm the Father. And so he's saying here, this is something we're supposed to do forever. And I want to make sure that they know how I brought you out of Egypt by reminding you that every year you're supposed to sleep in a tent, in a booth, in a tabernacle. You are supposed to dwell in the booth every year for this week. So good. So let's break down what some of these things mean. Let's go step by step, huh? Let's do it. So this takes place the 15th day of the 7th month. Oh, I like this donut right here. But yeah, you can see right over there, Leviticus chapter 23, verse 34. It says on the 15th day of the 7th month. So that would mean Teruah is on the 1st day of the 7th month. Atonement is on the 10th day of the 7th month. And Sukkot starts on the 15th day of the 7th month. So much going on in the 7th biblical month. Now, so this is an overview, a high level overview of what this day looks like. So like I said, on the first day, we have a high Sabbath, a holy gathering, as you can see way over there. And so the first day is a solemn rest, a holy convocation. Convocation means gathering. You people are set apart, gathering together. Then throughout the week, Israel would get together, they would party, and then they would also give their offerings, fruit, grain, drink, burnt offerings, food offerings, right? And then on the last day, which is also known as the last great day, the 8th day, will be another holy convocation, a solemn rest, a set apart day, a Sabbath day, where Israel would gather together. And so this is what it looks like all together. And you can find that right there at Leviticus chapter 23, verse 35 through 36. Now let's dive a little bit more into this booth thing. What is that? Why do I hear so many different things? Let's take a look at this verse. Leviticus chapter 23, verses 42 through 43. It says, "You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All native Israelites shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the people of Israel dwell in booths. That when I brought them out of the land of Egypt, Mitzrayim, that I am Yah, your Elohim. I'm the Lord your God." And so what he's saying here is, I want you to dwell in booths to let everyone know that I brought you out of Egypt and provided for you. I gave you a place to stay. I didn't just bring you out of Egypt into nothing. I gave you a place to stay, and I told you to stay in these temporary booths as you went with me throughout the wilderness. And so this is why the Father says, dwell in booths. And let's dive into it. But let's learn a little bit more about booths. What is it? So Sukkot is the Hebrew word, but it also could mean booth, tabernacle, or tent. Basically, it just means a temporary dwelling place, a temporary dwelling place. And so all of these different things could also be a Sukkot. Fun fact, Sukkot is actually one of the places in scripture. I believe it's east of the Jordan River. And so, but a Sukkot is a temporary dwelling place. These are all the different types of temporary dwelling places that could be a Sukkot. And if you want to learn more and pray and how you're led, read that verse over there. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 42 through 43 can kind of explain it all. The Moedim, they are prophetic pictures and rehearsals. There are a lot of things, but this is my favorite thing about the Moedim, the appointed times, is because they help us remind us of things that happened in the past, but they also give us things to look forward as we look towards the future. And so let's take a look at some of the things that might take place in the future that's relevant, that's important, that comes from the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Booths, also known as Sukkot. So it says, "And it shall come to pass that everyone who was left of all the nations," so this is from Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16 through 19. So this is important scripture about prophetically what's going to take place in the new Jerusalem, in the new kingdom. It says, "It shall come to pass that everyone who is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, or Yahuwah Tesavot, and keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whichever of the families on earth do not come up to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, Yahuwah Tesavot, on them there will be no rain." So he's saying, hey, everyone that's left in the world is going to have to come up to Jerusalem, keep and worship the King, and everyone's going to have to keep this feast eventually. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences like no rain. Let's keep reading. Let's see what else happens. It says, "If the family of Egypt will not come up and enter in, they shall have no rain. They shall receive the plague with which Yah strikes the nations who do not come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that do not come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles." So not only will there be no rain, but they will receive a plague if they don't keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So this is something that the Father is expecting his people to do eventually. Actually, he's expecting the whole world to keep this at some point. Everyone's going to have to come up to Jerusalem to worship the King and keep this feast. So why not keep it right now? This is how the Feast of Tabernacles points to prophetically what our lives are supposed to look like eventually. So let's summarize this into a couple points. Number one, Sukkot begins on the 15th day of the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar. And it lasts for 7 days. And there is a set apart bonus day called the last great day. Both the 1st and the 8th day are considered rest days. And this is the 7th annual Moed, or appointed times. It occurs for 7 days, and it's in the 7th month, 777. That's an important number for the Father. Also with 12 and the number 3, right? The extra day, the eighth day, is sometimes known as the last great day. And during the 7-day period, all the native Israelites are instructed to dwell in booths or temporary dwelling places. That about wraps up. That's so good. So as you can see here, you can dwell in a booth like that. Some people build their Sukkots like that. They have the leaves at the top and the structure and the curtains with the table ready for the feast. other people to sleep in the tent, whatever the case may be, your Sukkot, your tabernacle, we're just excited that you're celebrating it, that you're looking into it, and we hope you have a great time this year. All right, let's take a look at some awesome artwork that was sent in to 144 Kids. Let's take a look. Right here, we have a haiku from Bailey. Check this out. This haiku is based off of Esther. How good is this? And we also have this haiku right here from Hannah. Look at this. This is off of Adam and Eve. This next video we have is from Skylar, and this is called The Good Samaritan. Man, look at that flip. That's awesome. And we have two other videos. This next one is from my man, Nathan. Oh, he wrote a cool message. Nathan, he says, "Dear Austin, this story is about the Good Samaritan. It's a parable. Your friend, Nathan." Let's take a look.
Yeshua told many parables. He was a good man. He was good. Yeshua told him, "I have a good parable for you. This is called the Good Samaritan." One day, a trader was walking around the sidewalk, but oh no! The robbers were woke up, but now they were here to beat them. So they knocked him down and he was bleeding. Help! I'm stuck! But now a priest came by, but he was not going to take care of him. A Levite passed, but he cannot take care of him. But now, the Samaritan. Then he took care of him. Then he went to the inn. Then he put him to the messenger. Y'all said, "Hey, get him too good. Be good with him. He will be righteous in the Lord." So they got the Samaritan to bed. He was going to feel well soon. Then Jesus said, "Was that a cool parable?" Yeah. So that was a cool story we did. The end.
And last but not least, we have the old reliable old man Vinny with his haiku. How great is this? Check it out.
Hello, today, kids. Oh, we should probably do the shofars. Here, let me sit down, okay? Servant, can you blow the shofar for me again? Right, you won't get it. There you go. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, last time on television, I had a bit of a problem. My beard came off, and it really pains me because to see me, having my beard come off was very hard for me, especially on television. But now, instead of beard be gone, beard be green. Found some. And now, in just 1 week, I found one beard is magnificent. Magnificent. No. Magnificent. No. Magnificent. Yes. Now that I have my beard, it's beard time. No, haiku time. So now, I'm going to be showing you my haiku. Moses saw a burning bush. It was burning a great light. The bush did not burn. And that is my haiku. So thanks, kids, for watching. Subscribe to Kids Action Bible Show. And goodbye.
All right, that wraps us up. Thank you so much for tuning in for this Shabbat recap. We really appreciate you being on. And if you're part of the 144 Kids family, this is a recap, and we love seeing you every Shabbat morning. If you want to get in touch with us, if you want to support this ministry at all, or maybe get involved, join in our live Shabbat studies every Shabbat morning, every Saturday morning, shoot us an email at 144kids. Is it 144kidsministry@gmail.com. Shoot us an email, 144kidsministry@gmail.com, and we would love to hear from you. Until then, shalom, and see you next time.